Welcome to MindShifters Radio. Today's Thursday, February the 19th, 2026, and we welcome you to the show. We were last night in codependence, and it's like, Terry said something about a whole weekend of breathing, and I'm like, no, we breathe on the 21st, and it's like, that is this weekend. It's like, I don't know where time has gone. So yeah, we have our regular MindShifters meeting on Saturday morning, and then we process with them on Sunday morning, and then we're going to breathe with the codependence group on Sunday afternoon. So yeah, it's going to be a full weekend of breath sessions. So it's awesome. So welcome, Michael. Hello,
Thank you,
Michael.
dear heart, and welcome everybody. Delighted that we're here. Did you share your news from the optometrist or ophthalmologist?
I guess I should unmute.
Yeah.
They always check your eyes. Well, which I've got floaters, so they've been checking them like every 3 to 6 months to see if they're getting better or whatever. And he said that my eyes had actually improved from the last time I was there. So that's a cool thing.
And it wasn't that your vision had improved. It was
Right.
literally the structure
The
of your
health of the
eye
eyeball.
had improved when he could look, when they took pictures at the depth inside the eyeball. Some of the structures had moved forward, and where they had you on a 6-month cycle of getting checked, he said, well, we don't need to look for another year. So
Yeah.
you think, honey, you're on track.
Yeah, I said my eyes now look like black saucers. Anyway, welcome.
How's everybody doing? Anita, Sally, Susan, Terry, what's happening? What's exciting? Not everybody at once, please. We gave you our exciting news. Tell us yours.
I guess if I unmuted, I thought, why are you not listening to me? Sally, I had gotten an email from you saying that you would be ready for Sunday, but have you picked your mind shifters? Did you get a mind shifter?
I did not yet.
I picked 2 numbers, 1 to 40 and 1 to 13. And Michael will give you your mind shifter.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, 1 to 40, we're going with 22. And the second number will be 4.
22-4. Okay, well, let's see what 22-4 is. It is, let's see here, section on control issues. Now, that's never been an issue for you, right? There's never been any control stuff in your words? No.
No.
I didn't think so. Okay. And 4 or 2?
4.
4, okay. I don't think you'll relate to this one at all. So 22-4 is, and I'll copy it and paste it in there.
Thank you.
What do you call it, so you don't have to catch up with it. A hostile voice is a sign that my breath is restricted and thoughts of inadequacy have been displaced. Pardon me, and thoughts of adequacy have been displaced by thought disorders based in hurt and weakness. So let me get over to the chat and we'll put that one in. There it is.
Thank you.
All right.
And Kathy,
so does that resonate? Anything exciting for you?
Well, let me read the mind shifter first, and then I'll let you know.
Okay, cool. Well, we've been talking about healing through relationships and the fact that, we've been talking a little bit about mind shifters, especially in the codependence group. And, a relationship is kind of like a mind shifter. If there's anything in you that's unlike love, you'll notice that the closer you get in relationships, especially if you enter into physical intimacy in relationships. That's when the stuff starts to move. Why is that? Well, when you recognize that on a physiological level, we are nothing more than energetic devices, first and foremost, we're governed by the rules of energy. And one of the primary rules of energy is resonance. The idea of doing a mind shifter before we do the still point breathing is to use the mind shifter to stir things up. And what my experience over the years is, and the reason why whenever we're going to breathe, I always bring a mind shifter into play, is because whatever is stirred out of the genes when one goes into breathing, that breathing session, if you reach that Dekucha factor that we've talked about, where the shift takes place, where the energy impact of the breath is higher than the resistance level, counter the resistance level, then whatever's in the field that doesn't belong literally gets blown off. So that's the objective of the mind shifter. And of course, relationships work in the same way. If there's something that needs to be dealt with, then it's the closest relationships you have that are going to show you that the fastest. And it's a pretty cool system to play in. Actually, I have a greeting card that I used to carry around in my notes for the Healing Through Relationships workshop. It's got two, kind of cartoon characters at the front, and the quote inside you're on the front page is, "When either of us lose it, we're so fortunate we have each other to hold the space." And you open the card. Inside it says, "We are so screwed if we both lose it at the same time." I'm sure nobody will relate to that or has ever had that happen. But anyway, healing through relationships. So each and every one of us, and most of you have done, most of you have done the personal code evaluation, so you have some idea of the personal code. And the personal code is each individual's personal set of rules that their mind forces them to follow when doing behavior. And unless one is awake enough in that interim space to say no thank you to carbon-based memory and the mind pushing things, then the mind is going to determine, according to one's personal code, what that person's going to do in that situation, in that circumstance. It's interesting, sometimes people will do something, they'll say, well, that's just not like me. I just would never do that. It's like, well, you just did. So it's in your personal code that you can do it. And now that you know it's in your personal code that you can do that, what you want to do is go to work and clean it up. Instead of, and it's in our relationships that we get the opportunity to move through those layers, to get to see those things that otherwise disappear. Otherwise, the sins of the fathers, and again in Aramaic, that word sin simply meaning energies that are off the mark, are passed yea unto 3 and 4 generations of those who hate me, says that particular scripture quote. And my offering is that in that particular quote, the word hate there in Aramaic is not hate as in a love-hate relationship. It's those who are separate from me. And the way we separate from that healing force is by holding the breath, the denial of Rukadekucha, which is not unforgivable, as the Greeks would threaten us into believing, but rather leaves us stuck in unforgiveness if the breath isn't moving. There isn't the intelligence there to reorganize the structure if the breath isn't moving through the system. So that really, points up the importance of the breath. And then, of course, we talked the other day about sacramental relationship, the pagra, that's designed to take us back to the truth of who we are. Whether it's husband and wife, mother and child, father and child, child to child. We're not designed to be in pain, but if we do set up pain and create unconscious realities and don't understand what we're creating, then that pain, and whatever the context is simply the warning signal that says, oh, here's something to work through. Hey, what a great opportunity. And here it is. So when I first started out teaching the workshop Healing Through Relationships, early in the game, I realized that my personal code was off base in more than one place. And the early, I should go back and find a copy of the first commitment and just see how many words. It's at least double the length now. And basically, when I realized personal code is a key, how you change your personal code? You change your personal code by commitment, by doing your work, and by words. So I created the commitment as a model of a personal code that if someone chooses, they can use it to build their own personal code or take it. We've gotten many invitations over the years to weddings. People took the commitment and had it as their wedding vows, which is kind of cool. But the idea is to have something in front of you that when carbon-based memory counsels you to go into some form of hostility or fear, to have a mechanism for stepping out of the hostility and fear-based mind and stepping back into living as a human being. What would love do? What would the active presence of love do? And so the commitment is about getting over what carbon-based memory forces us to do, and it literally is a force. It is an energetic force that if it vibrates, if it fires at a higher level than our level of conscious awareness, doesn't matter how many times we say to ourselves, I'm never going to do that again, until we break down the mind energy behind it, and the mind energy results in constructs that convince us that it's necessary to do this. Until we break them down, they don't change. Right there in line with that, my favorite quote from Carl Jung, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. And then not only will it direct our lives, but it will also determine our cellular chemistry, our emotions, our physiology, and our behavior. So I think that one of the most important things we can do, and the opportunity to do that comes through relationships, is to shift into a personal code that is consciously, purposely chosen. And for me, when I first started to teach that workshop and started to develop that personal code called My Commitment, every area of my life where I wasn't consistent, I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do, then that would bring another idea into the personal code. And over the years, it's doubled in size or better as each time I confronted something where I wasn't able to live up to what I had said I wanted to live up to. And you probably noticed that you can make a choice to do something new, but until you do the work around it, something new just doesn't happen. Does that make sense, everybody? Thoughts, questions, answers, ideas? Everybody's breathing with us? Cool. So what I'd like to do is make a commitment to you guys. And I invite you to consider returning the favor. And I'm going to go through the commitment step by step. And if there's anything about it that doesn't make sense or that seems like it needs an upgrade or whatever, I'd love it if you'd hit that mute button and put out your thoughts. So the first thought in the commitment, I promise to trust you enough to tell you the truth. Now, we live in a world of liars. The whole world is based in lies. How do we know that? Well, where do you find somebody that isn't living out of carbon-based memory? If you're living out of carbon-based memory, then by definition, every construct your mind shows you is a replica of something from the past, pretending to be the present. So everything that carbon-based memory shows us literally is a lie. And so the objective here is to work toward really actually being with the truth. And of course, what is the truth? Capital T truth. Well, I love how the Course in Miracles approaches that idea. It says the truth cannot be spoken in words. So, boy, that puts us in a pickle, doesn't it? Interesting how idioms work. I mean, can you imagine you translate the words I just said to Italian, and if they don't have the idiom that I just spoke, they're sitting there wondering how two people could get inside of a pickle. How crazy. And that's one of the problems with the Aramaic language. It is so rife with idioms that are just not translatable. You can't translate an idiom. I don't care if you're the best decoder of a given language in the world. If you don't know what the idiom means, you can't comprehend what the idiom is. Susan, I see you've hit your mute button. Welcome.
Yeah, I love what you said there. Truth cannot be spoken in words. That's absolutely true, but it can be felt.
Yeah.
It's the inner wisdom and the knowing. You know, I was saying last night when I know something, I know it. It's that there's no language that can comprehend what I know when it's coming from a place of resonance and coherence. So I love that was spoken in that way, but the body or the felt sense of something, we know it. We can really tap in to know the truth of something. So I just wanted to offer that because I've heard that before reading the Course in Miracles, and it just landed this morning. Yeah, it cannot be spoken in words. It can't because but it sure can be. It can be have a direct experience of it through the inner knowing.
Yeah. It can be breathed in, and when it is, it will totally reorganize everything that is not in harmony. It will come into coherence. Truth, the structure and the energetic patterns right down into the genes will come into coherence with truth if we'll breathe it in deeply enough and allow it to.
And that's the key. The resistance piece is the key. So what I've noticed in my own experience, especially the last month or so, like the knowing what I know, that's the only way I can say. So, you know, the threefold part of me, there's a spirit, there's a soul, and then I'm observing this illusion through this interchange of this physiology and also of this mind, this human mind. And yet, there's all this evidence that would say all this is happening out there. And I know this. I know the truth, and so I'm just constantly cleaning the inner world. And
what it takes.
Yeah, and whatever is showing up in my world, I know the truth. God is love, and Ruka's in my breath. And when I come back there, it's always I'm always returned to truth. When I just stop in the moment that I want to be hostile, or I stop in the moment that I want to be in fear. And then I just come back in and she does the cleaning instantly. But it's not easy to do when that carbon-based memory of the past, what you just said, comes right up front and center. And exactly what you're saying, most of the stories we're seeing out here through the lens of our reality is coming from a carbon-based memory program. And by the way, if we look at our world, we've been at war more than we've ever been at peace.
No, it's insane.
And I know it is insane because we're out of our minds. And so the only way to clean up that is to clean up our minds and know that the program we're seeing out here is negating the truth.
My take would be, unfortunately, we're not out of our minds. We're in our minds. That's where the insanity is. Yeah. Where the healing happens is when we're out of our minds.
Yeah. Yeah, when
we can loosen from carbon-based memory. And of course, the beauty of Yeshua 2,000 years ago coming out with this tool, well, here's how you collapse carbon-based memory. If you consistently, persistently do that, what you'll have is a series of near-life experiences. And that near-life experience is one where at some point, the strength of being experienced becomes the overriding factor. And that's when carbon-based memory starts to back off, shut up.
Yeah, and so that's our, like the journey. Even so, we have to be a guardian of our own mind. Any time that we're going into separation in any experience, we're, like I said last night, we're loose. We're allowing our mind energy to be loosed, and like this light that we are, this perfect being that we are, that God has granted us the light to be that in this world of illusion. And those of us on this call, for sure, we've done many lifetimes, I believe, where we have the spiritual mind cells in order to hold that light. And when we, and I see so much people getting stuck in the replicating the carbon-based memories of the past of war and all the discordance they're seeing out there in politics, etc. And they're just adding to the already running carbon-based program system. The question is, can we rise above that and bring the consciousness of God to this plane without getting involved in either side?
And there's
Yeah.
this group of Canadians that studied war. I forget what the group is, but what they came up with was an estimate that from the beginning of recorded history, 6 billion people
Yeah.
have been murdered in war.
Yes.
Pretty crazy.
And we were part of it. If for those of us that believe in reincarnation, who knows how many times I played the other side, that I had a non-being and contributed to those deaths. And I just did a clearing last night, actually, and my mind calendar is I went and forgave myself for all the, all the wrongdoings.
You mean you pardoned yourself?
I pardoned myself, yeah. I did a pardoning and releasing, and I actually did it. Yeah, it was, and I have more to do with more characters in my play. My parents, I did, where I've had some big impacts, where there would have been the lessons that would have been perceived as dark, and also the lessons I got from the light, and just because they're all me, and I got to put it as there was me meeting me through the mirror of the other. It was beautiful. And then I just thanked for the experience and the lessons that I've learned, and that all karma is complete. And I signed it and did a burning ceremony.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So that leads to the next piece in the commitment of not only do I commit to tell you the truth, but to be true to you, to really be in integrity is a huge piece of the puzzle. Integrity with ourselves when we look in the mirror, integrity with each other, and always to engage in just and fair behavior with you.
Well, can I ask you what integrity means for you? When you say integrity, what does that mean for you?
It means that the structure of the field is coherent and consistent with everything that's within the field. So integrity for a human being would be a human being, to truly be in integrity, would be a human energy field with no sin energy, no energy that's off the mark. That would be integrity.
And then we'll just drop the no, because you said it would be with no sin. So is there a way to
we're
word that differently?
acknowledging that if there's sin there, it's definitely got to be cleaned up. Otherwise, there's no integrity. We're out of integrity at that point. Yeah.
So you're saying, just so for the language that I heard then, so in the field, because that brings me back to Pagra. So I believe that Pagra is, when I sent out that video and talked about the relational field, there's a field of purity, of truth, of love that exists there. I believe Pagra is present between any two people when they choose to have that as the foundation, and then to be in integrity with that. And then from a human system, that integrity is to be in alignment with our thoughts, our emotions, because we're operating in a human system. Our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, our words, and our actions in alignment with the truth of what's being expressed through Ruka.
Where to go? Coherence.
And even if we just breathe that in for a minute, you can actually viscerally feel it. And
absolutely
right, and words can't describe what we know this. And can you imagine it's just like coming into alignment with the rod and staff, And every system in the physiology, and that aligns with the chakras as well, that spirit gets to come in, and it's coming in through the crown, the third eye's open, right? This widely open. Then this is open because we got Rachma and Kuba open. And then the throat's open to the truth. And then the heart and soul where the belief systems rely. And then our personal will is connected and open to be in divine will. And then we have our creativity center where our emotions reside, and we're willing to have that open and see what's true. And then that grounded in our actions. In full alignment and holding that truth. And I love, you live that in your commitments. And integrity means that we will hold ourselves to the rod and staff of every one of our chakras are in alignment with the truth. So
when we step into truth, then we can make a commitment to be true to each other. And that engagement, bringing it in from the Sermon on the Mount, that just and fair behavior is a real key to functioning out of human behavior. There's an interesting video I watched yesterday, and the fellow was speaking, was saying, "Don't bother telling me what you believe. Show me how you treat the people who are weakest near you, and then I'll tell you what you believe." That was a pretty powerful statement, because we have so many people out there talking about their big Christian beliefs, but but if we kill a few, immigrants, that's not that big a deal, because we need to have. And so I thought his thought there is just show me how you treat people, and then I'll tell you what you really believe.
that's amazing. Oh my gosh, I just wrote that down. That's bang on.
Yep, that's the right one.
Yeah, thank you for that one.
It was actually interesting. It was spoken by a fellow he's a political kid out of Texas, a young, true Christian young man who's running in Texas, and he was supposed to be on Colbert show the night before last, and CBS prohibited him. Told Colbert you can't have him on, and according to Colbert, he says, and they told me not to talk about the fact that it was prohibited. So he says, so we're going to talk about it. And he ended up interviewing him on his YouTube channel. And as of last night, the video that was posted on YouTube, because he couldn't do it on his normal CBS station, had something like 200% of the number of views were 200% over anything that he'd ever done in all the years he's been doing television. And other TV stations and other nighttime interviewers are picking up like this thing's probably gone 10 times as strong. But this young man is really pretty amazing in his speaking and his integrity literally as a politician. And it was just humorous to watch how the attempt to shut him down just made his voice 10 times louder. But that was a statement that came from him. Just show me how you treat the poor people around you, and we'll know what you really believe.
Can you tell me something, because something just popped into the field here, and I wanted to ask you about this, I don't know why this is coming in, I'm just going to bring it out. Uta just came into the mind, dropped in around
Yes.
the media. Tell me what more your thoughts on that.
Uta around the media. I don't know the link you're making. Tell me what the
So
link you're.
Uta, so I don't know either. So it just came into the field. So that's what just came in. Bring this forward. So what does Uta's? That's the negative mind
Okay.
energy, right? Is that
No,
right?
no,
What
no.
is Uta?
No, Uta is a suffix that in Aramaic you add to a word to indicate that whatever the mind energies is coming forward is unconscious.
That's it. Okay, thank you.
So let's say if we've got a person, an example I usually use, the word sneh in Aramaic is vicious. So if someone were known to be vicious, we'd say they are sneh. If they were in their vicious conversation right now, one would say sneh uta. This conversation is coming from the unconscious. And of course, the person lives in denial of it.
Okay, that's interesting, because Uta, so then Uta would tell you that the mind energy being brought forth is unconscious. So
Coming
sin,
from the unconscious.
And as soon as you were
That's how
brought in,
deeply they understood in the Aramaic what the
okay,
unconscious meant. Today they tell us that Freud discovered the unconscious. He no more discovered the unconscious and fly in the air.
yeah, yeah. And so with that, so then as I'm listening to when you were speaking about the media, that word dropped in. And then they, right in my mind, it said, bring this forward, Uta, and then the media. It's unconscious. Most of the information on the media is unconscious.
Well,
And
yeah, it's
so,
pretty bizarre.
well, and this is interesting because I know this, another one that I know to be true, that it's looshing energy. The whole media is taking the light of the being, and people that are consumed by any form of media, your mind energy is being brought into the Uta energy of the unconscious. So I don't know, I was asked to bring that forward just now. It dropped in really just, so I'm just bringing it forward. That's all.
Yeah. Cleaning up the unconscious dynamics. And I noticed that Cammie is with us. Hey there, young lady. Welcome. And we had made a commitment last night. So seeing as how you're here, I want to make the space. We were talking about the commitment, but I want to make the space to support you if you want to move forward with doing the purpose
Oh,
worksheet.
hi.
Hey,
I texted you. I had forgot that are people that were supposed to be here at 11. They're still not here, um, to come and work on this house, and it's going to be really loud. And so I didn't want to get in the middle of a process and then
right.
not be able to
Okay.
finish it. So,
Well, we can hold
um,
it till another day when you know there's going to be no interference, and you just say the word, and we'll be here.
okay. Yeah, I don't know how long they're going to be working on this. I don't know how many days, if they'll be done by Monday or what, but
Sure.
I apologize for not being able to honor that commitment.
That's okay. No, it was just optional. It was optional, so no apology needed. Just to know we're here holding the space.
I like to follow through with my commitments, so
Yay.
And guess what,
um,
Cammie? Oh my gosh, what a beautiful metaphor right then and there, that all the noise going on is going to, this is a perfect, you couldn't ask for a better metaphor where you want to go into process. This is on purpose to show you that there would have been all this noise going on in the system, so you did not have the capacity to be internal. And just breathe into that. And then having to, and I'm just going to say this, and you know, these clues show up everywhere to give us insight to the depth of our own consciousness and how the mind energy gets constricted. And there you wouldn't have had the capacity, and then having to choose the noise over your own needs, wants, and desires. And just breathe into that, right? Just breathe into that. And you're like, this is just perfect to be able to see that and know that the universe is showing you the pattern in that. And so, of course, there would be these holes in your bucket because you didn't get to be known at a depth level because of all the chaos that was going on in the family, right from being, you know, baked in the oven when you were being made. And all the discourse and the noise that would have been going on. And here you are floating in this sack of energy, you know, this beautiful angel from God looking forward to the party and gonna go in, right? Your wings,
right?
your energetic wings, and you're like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm gonna bring all this love to the world. And all of a sudden, all you hear is this incoherent yelling and screaming. And you're like, oh my gosh, what is that gonna be like? And oh no, then you start to believe the pattern of what's going on, and then you come out and you think, oh my God, I must have done something. I'm the bad one.
Right, I'm the one that just showed up. I don't,
And you came to bring light to this plane, and you said, I don't even know what I'm doing here. What's that? And here you're, oh my God, I saw, right? Flapping those big angel wings is what you're doing here.
right? The world was not ready for Cammy.
You're like, now you got to
So the que-
find that Cammy. You got to find her. And okay, that's it. Well, okay, I figured out why I'm here. Let's go fly. Let's just bring it. And
so
it's
the
not about
question now
doing.
is
Yeah.
is Cammy ready for Cammy?
That's
uh,
bingo.
yeah, right. That's the, well, there's just, I still have all these tapes running around in my head about how I'm too much and,
Oh, I know.
you
Oh, I hear
know,
you.
all
Well, we
of,
have a tool for that, you know.
all of it.
We actually have an app
Hmm.
for that.
Bunch of them.
Yep.
Bunch of them.
Layer by layer.
Oh my gosh.
But isn't that beautiful how we get the clues everywhere? And you guys, this game board is amazing that the clues are always, the spirit is wanting us to wake up in every moment. And they're like, okay, we knew you're going to drop into density. We knew you're going to have these meat suits that you're going to have to go and bring, you're going to have to descend into darkness. You're going into a body that is lifetimes and family systems where trauma is held. You're going to have to purify the vessel clean enough so that I can come in and incarnate and we can do our mission with God
And breathe.
and breathe in the purification. And she said, I'm going in with you. I'm not sending you in alone. I'm coming in with you with breath. The intelligence will always be with you in the breath. Now, don't forget that I'm there and you're going to have to rely on me. And she said, it's going to seem like it's really real what's going on in there. It's going to seem like all this discordance is real. And when we did a pact with her before we left that we promised her that we will always be true as long as she was with us. And Yeshua said, I leave you the comforter, the breath. And then even the cross, for some weird reason, I'm even doing this. It's not me doing it. It's just coming up and feeling that and holding that in the presence of my own heart. I have no idea why and it's holding me really strong like this to do this. She holds us in the heart. We're bound to her. We're like, it's got me like this. It cannot be broken. This bond cannot be broken. And I want to say this bond, because I just did a mind energy negative there. So I want to say this bond is always secure. And really, I can't break my hands apart right now. Or my hands, it is being held so strong. And she came in with us, and I can feel when we hold on to that. And so now you're just healing the human mind energy that has lived in separation.
And here's a personal code to support you doing it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be those relationships that are going to give you the opportunities to say, I'm finished with the past.
Yeah.
So we're here to hold the space for that. Any other
Thank
thoughts
you,
for you?
guys.
You're
No.
welcome. All right. So the next thought in the commitment, now that I've established that I'm going to be true to you and engage only in just and fair behavior, I commit to always be sweetness in your life. This is one that I can remember when I first brought that into the puzzle, especially men would kind of recoil from. Well, but I'm a man. Sweetness? What do you mean? It's like, excuse me. If we go back to the moment where any and every one of us was newborn, before we took on all the garbage of the world, sweetness was our middle name. I don't care whether you're male or female or who you are. And it's a direct reflection of our genuine presence. And to recognize that if I lose my capacity to express in that sweetness, that while my mind gives me all kinds of stories about how it's about somebody else, I've got work to do. So if I want to step away from, if there's a part of me that my personal code that, certain things happen and I go into holding my breath and go into some sort of hostility, or fear, that's the place where I want to choose to breathe and return to my true nature. And then do what humans do to nurture you daily. And when I think about that particular piece, I think about Yeshua after he's come out of the Garden of Gethsemane. His detox is so powerful, he sweat blood. And then he stands in front of the man who's going to have him mercilessly slaughtered, the high priest servant. And the guy is injured. And what does Yeshua do? He reaches out. And he's true to him. He's just and fair. He functions like a human being. He brings forward healing energy to the guy who's going to murder him. He nurtures him. And that's what human life is. And the objective of this commitment, the whole objective of the healing through relationships process, is to reclaim the truth of who we are. And this personal code, at least for me, is the best reflection I've been able to come up with yet of how do we put into words what will support our true being truly functioning through this carbon-based memory system, which probably has a few different ideas than treating others lovingly, gently, and with respect. So that's the next thought in the commitment is I'm going to make a commitment to treat you lovingly, gently, and with respect. And of course, when I do that, who do I have to treat lovingly and gently and with respect first? Myself. And oftentimes, there's a scriptural idea that says, treat others as you want to be treated. I think that's maybe one of the big problems with the world. So many people carry so much guilt and self-loathing and self-deprecation that when they reach out with a vicious tongue or a vicious word or mind or hand, they're treating others exactly the way they treat themselves. And so this commitment, and of course there's a version of it on the website, living with yourself, the person you'll get in the mirror. And this idea of loving gently and respectfully is something that you want to do in your thoughts, in your words, and in your actions. Doing it in terms of actions, if somebody's into, let's say, hitting people, being physically abusive, it's a relatively easy thing to put your hands down your side and say, okay, that stops. But the person who throws fists, the problem isn't with the fists, the problem is with the thoughts and the words. And so there are 3 levels of energy to really pay attention to, that in your actions, your behaviors, you bring in this idea of functioning lovingly, gently, and with respect. And then you go to the next level of energy, and that is more of a cause level. And that is you shift and change your words, your regulatory speech, so that your regulatory speech comes into harmony, into alignment with actions that are based in love. And it gets progressively more challenging as you go to the subtler levels of energy until you're there back to the cause level of thoughts. That if one has vicious or violent thoughts, then that's going to turn into vicious or violent words, which is going to turn into vicious or violent actions. And so cleaning it up on all levels and making a commitment that this is the only energy I'm going to allow to move through me. And then whenever life comes along and resonates something other than that, and when you realize, if the idea of the sins of the fathers, i.e. fathers, mothers, are going to be passed to 3 and 4 generations of those who are separated from the active presence of love, what are the energetic patterns? And you start thinking about, in 4 generations, there are 31 lives if you count them up. Who told us that in our physiology was every thought, every feeling, every reality, every unresolved issue of 31 people in your bloodline? And when you're the early adopter of this work, it means you've got to deal with that. And then if you think about, 4 generations back, where did the fourth generation back get their thoughts, their feelings, the realities they live out of, but formulated by the previous four who went to the previous four who went to. And we're looking at, in just 30 generations, that's as far back as I've gone with the numbers, but it's about 1.6 billion people. Go back 31 generations is now 3.2. 32 generations is 6.8. I mean, but literally, they are the energetic patterns. And, they've proven with newborn infants that with microphotography, they do microphotography of the movements of a child's body in response to words. And the movement is always identical in response to each word that's spoken. It's already structured in physiology. And so taking charge of that database and cleaning it up in the presence of self and others is a challenge. And that's why the last thought in this particular paragraph of the commitment is, I'm going to do all of this. Trust you enough to tell you the truth. Be true to you. Be in just and fair behavior. Commit to be sweetness. Nurture you. Treat you lovingly, gently, with respect. Thoughts, words, and actions. Whether I'm in your presence or not. Some people think, well, they're not here, so I say something behind their backs. I say something about them. I gossip about them. I do it without them being there. And they've just crashed the whole commitment idea. It doesn't matter whether that person can see or hear or has any awareness. And anyone that you're speaking about, because of this law of resonance and the fact that we don't know anything in the physical universe, so-called physical universe, that is dense enough to stop the high energy waves that leave the mind we think a thought. Every thought you think about another, they receive energetically. If they're really aware, they'll know it. They'll tap in. You've had those experiences probably where, you're thinking about somebody and all of a sudden the phone rings. That's resonance. That's energy. And so taking responsibility on the level we're talking about it's a pretty big piece of work. The next idea, well, before we move on, that's the first paragraph of the commitment. Anyone have any thoughts to share? Questions on that particular?
I just wanted to add, of course, just further to what you're saying about the energy, because it's a relational field we're in, and energy is non-local. Exactly what you said. The minute you're either toxifying the field or you're bringing light to the field, there's no. It's either you're within coherence or you're in incoherence. And we know anytime we're in the non-being mind energy of fear or hostility, we are bringing into the field. And this field it can be between two people, it can be between ourselves, even having the relationship we have with ourselves. And anytime we say toxic thought or hold toxic thoughts within, it is adding to the chemistry of our own body and what that is. And then, of course, we have the individual, then we're going out into the community, then we're going out into the humanities relational field. And I only have to look, I can get a really good sense of the thought patterns, the thought disorders of humanity, given what is being seen by many people. And most of the reality I see out there that people see, it's not my reality. I don't live in that reality, so I'm not experiencing it. So, but the collective consciousness is being created by the distorted. If it is in distortion, it's those thought forms that are being held in each of our individual mind energy. And imagine as you clean it up, you're cleaning up, being uploaded into the collective cloud of this humanity consciousness. And it's the cleanup, and it's an insight.
That's where we're heading.
Yeah, we're already there. We're already there, actually. It's already complete. The mind doesn't know it's complete.
Connect with it.
Yeah, and our journey is to clean up our own minds. So we are on a journey without distance to a place we never left. And the mind cannot enter the kingdom until it's purified. The minute it's purified and you've come back to the truth that their separation is an illusion, And any hostility and fear is an illusion. The minute that happens, you are instantly home. And all of us have had moments of that instantaneously. We've had that experience where that's come in, and we get to have that experience consistently. And in the meantime, it's a choice in every moment. So yeah, I just wanted to add to that piece around, it's like you said before, it's just this body is an illusion. It's an illusion.
Well,
it's just vibrating energy.
it's vibrating energy, and we need to be careful with that word illusion too, because some people play the game. Oh well, it doesn't exist, so it doesn't matter. And the word illusion in the Aramaic context, the word means measured.
Yeah.
So as we measure into it, as you measure, it will be measured unto you. Whatever energetic patterns you put in are going to play out in your illusion.
Yeah.
And so we could even change that word a little bit to I illusion.
Yes.
Because we do it to ourselves. And so the application of this commitment is to shift into the highest levels of mind energy and step, of course, into the willingness to let the rest of it go. So the next thought that comes is, in every interaction I commit to affection for you, to look for and acknowledge the highest and best in you. And in Aramaic, the word that represents looking for the highest and best in self or another is the word humility. It's interesting how the Greeks turned that one into, groveling in the earth like a worm. But that's not what humility means at all. It's a mental quality in Aramaic of looking for and acknowledging the highest and best in another. And then, so as I do that, I'm going to surrender to love, our shared true nature. I will use only voice tones and language that reflect my deep caring for you. And I put that thought in there because sometimes unconscious voice tones reflect hostility or fear. And if we're not really paying attention, not listening, we can just slide over that and pretend everything's fine, when the truth is we're speaking from something that is out of awareness. And so bringing awareness to the voice tones that we use and the quality of words that we use that either reflect our coherent state or our incoherence. And of course, here we are all sharing the game of cleaning it up, stepping into the truth of who we are. My connection to my source, my connection to love, our source, gratitude for my relationship with you, and our serenity will always be more important than any issue. And when we come into relationships, especially if we haven't done a depth of work, virtually everybody comes in hauling their bag of garbage. And there comes a point where, and it's well recognized in the culture, we have a saying for it. It's pretty much universal in this Western world. We have a saying that the honeymoon is over. What does that mean? It means that I've interacted with you. I started out in this space of connectedness and love, but each time an issue was resonated in me by you, I took my bag of garbage and put it up a little higher between us and a little higher. And if you get two people doing that, it's not long before they're looking at their own and their partner's bag of garbage and forgetting the being that's on the other side of it. So to recognize that if our stuff is up, if our garbage is up, if our issues are going, that's great. And it can get intense and it can get crazy. And I always want to remember the appreciation I have for the fact that you are sharing your life with me. And yeah, issues come up, but can we look around the issue to look at the being that we're in relationship with and what this whole idea of relationship is really about? So realizing that this connection, gratitude, relationship, and serenity are always more important than the issues. The issue can get important, the issue can get big, and sadly, in people who don't have tools, their lives become about their issues and they forget that they had a relationship. And so in that space of recognizing the importance of the issue, then being open to and opening one's field to a deeper level of connection with a partner, or it doesn't matter whether it's a business partner or a person you're sitting on the bus with. I open my being to embrace you in my love. I open my being to embrace you in my love. And it's an awesome practice to just, you're out at the grocery store or at the pool or wherever it is, to just open your energy field to extend the presence of your being, the presence of love, to each person that you interact with. And it's always fun to watch how energy shifts when we do that. Energy shifts both within and without.
Can you
So open my being to, go ahead.
Can you define what you, just so I wanted to land for me, serenity? What does that mean to you?
When Yeshua is said to have said, my peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Excuse me, my throat's loose. The word he used was not peace, it was serenity. And serenity is a state, my take of serenity is a state where the channel is open and I am totally and completely connected to being. And that being is incarnated in my physiology. So the result of that being flooding every cell in the structure would be my definition of serenity.
Yeah, that feels true. That's absolutely. Thank you for that. Because yeah, okay.
And when we connect with another in that, now we've got the instead of the reinforcement for hostility joining with hostility and doubling, and we have serenity connecting with serenity and doubling.
Yeah.
And each of these words has been carefully selected to reinforce and support the power of that.
And that's what I noticed, and I love like that commitment that you have to really understand. It's really come clear for me now. I want to say the truth of the energy behind a word. As I've said before, I'm often looking up the original meaning of words, going back using the etymology, and you nailed it with serenity. And yet in our world, it has been watered down to mean something else, just like humility. And I love what you said about humility. It's that I honor the highest and best in you. And I commit with my energy to hold that in your presence. And when that's the purest form of humility. Now, people's consciousness, that's why the words in the Bible, and people read them, they read them at their mind energy, what they perceive is at different levels of energetic truth, I want to say, right? So if you looked at it on a scale of 1 to 100, what you just said with serenity, that's the pure meaning of serenity. Hands down. It's like my whole body feels it with 100% certainty. Same with what you said about humility. 100% certainty, that's the truth. That's 100%. The dial's right at 100. So we get to be, we just have, our journey is to make sure we understand and also can receive the depth of the truth behind the words being offered. And obviously you're there because even how you gave it in translation, the meaning, the transliteration of the meaning of what Yeshua's intent was, it is the truth. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Honored. And then the next piece of the commitment is a necessary, what word should I say? A necessary acknowledgement that unless I've completed my work, if we connect, something's going to come up. And actually, this is one of the most recent, the first sentence, the next paragraph is one of the most recent additions to the commitment. And I put this in because I found that some of the things that I committed to in the earlier part of the commitment was a challenge to do. Stuff would resonate, and it was difficult to knowing that ideal, but the challenge and the difficulty of sticking to it. So being able to acknowledge that with my words was the idea of this statement in the commitment. If anything I've committed to here sounds hollow, because sometimes, and I mean, I'm sure nobody else has had that happen, where you have an intention and a goal to do a certain thing, and then you fall short of that. But I've found that happens, so that's why I put this in here. And then, so if anything sounds hollow, or anything like love comes up in me, first thing I'm going to do, the behavior I'm going to move toward. Now, my mind is going to counsel me, if I'm coming from unresolved issues, my mind's going to counsel me to do something other than this. And, you'll probably notice that with yourself too. So here's where I want to language and bring in the possibility. Remember that behavior, most human behavior comes into expression via speech. And it's a progression of speech that happens until the speech becomes unconscious. And when that speech becomes unconscious, that's our personal code. That's what drives behavior. And so the objective here is to recognize that, yep, there's some things I haven't worked through yet, so something less than love is going to come up with me. And here's what I'm going to do. And one of the things we suggest you do is speak this commitment. Speak it and speak it and speak it, because that's how things happen. We hear how regulatory speech, the speech that literally becomes chemistry in our physiology, that literally becomes behavior, that literally becomes emotion, is the speech that is experienced to reduce stress, that moves down into the level of the unconscious. And of course, ultimately, one of the objectives is to be free of the unconscious. I don't believe that the unconscious is part of our design. The unconscious is part of our denial, a reflection of our denial. We're not designed to have one. And of course, if you listen to psychologists today, they'll tell you that 80, 90, 95, maybe as much as 98% of our speech, our thinking is unconscious. And if that's true, and we're not designed to have an unconscious mind, that says a lot about how far we are away from our original home in the breath. That first line in the Beatitude, in no way, shape, or form says you're supposed to be poor in spirit to get into the kingdom of God. What it says is those whose home is in the breath, in the eternal forces from the Creator. That's the first Beatitude. And the impact of living on this level is that in the Aramaic, there was an understanding that there was literally a neural structure in us to guide us toward happiness and well-being. However, because of our denial and dissociation, that's been layered over and made unconscious. If you look at the instruction set in the Beatitudes, each of the Beatitudes, where the first word in Aramaic is tuvehun, it's a three-part word. And basically tuvehun says, a latent neural structure implanted by the Creator becomes your conscious possession, you who. And what follows is a set of instructions for how to resonate, how to bring that back to its rightful place in the temple, rather than being wallpapered over with hostility and fear. So to bring forward that underlying neural structure, and that's when it just becomes totally and completely natural. So if anything unlike love comes up in me, if anything I've committed to here sounds hollow, what am I going to do? The first thing I'm going to do is stop, take a breath, and hold this in my heart and listen. And really listen as I learn to give up my denial and projection and learn to speak, experience, and be responsible, and forgive my own realities. So this is a powerful action step, especially in relationship, or instead of conversations about everybody else, you come back to a conversation about yourself. If there's some form of pain in the body, some form of pain in the mind, and you're having a conversation about someone outside of you, you're in trouble because you're in denial and dissociation. And the mind's got all kinds of stories and all kinds of ways and all kinds of justifications that it can tell you to make his story logical. And remember that whenever you're doing that, and I brought this word up a week or two ago. It was I think it was 2023. It was the word of the year, coined by actually a Canadian writer, actually in the computer world, but it's perfect for what we're talking about here. And the word was enshittified. And that when we keep having conversations about something or somebody outside of us, well, there's some sort of pain going on inside of us. We tend to enshittify our minds and the minds around us. So this is meant to reverse that, to get to undo that dynamic in the world, to give up denial and projection and learn to speak, experience, and be responsible for and forgive my own realities. I'm here, foreign with you. Like leaving is off the table. I'm here. I promise to speak only truth to you as I keep communication open and keep love conscious, active, and present as we heal, celebrate life, and grow together. So that's the latest version of my commitment. And I wonder if that leaves anyone with any thoughts.
Only gratitude, my friend. Deep, deep, deep.
No, you got it.
Yeah, that you, and obviously I just honor both you and Jeannie for coming together in personal relationship and all the journeying and showing up in your willingness to find the deeper truths. And it takes experience, wisdom, knowledge through experience for you to bring this level of depth through your commitment to that commitment document. For both you and Jeannie, that takes a great effort. So I just say thank you.
You are welcome.
Deepest of gratitude.
Taking it to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. That's the objective. And
You're doing it.
the understand to build the brain cells that stand behind it to make sense of it.
Yeah.
There's so many wonderful pieces of information out there in the world, but without the refined understanding that came from the Aramaic, and one of the things I've been doing some research on, working on the book that's all Greek to me, is there's a fellow named Stan Tannen, and he's done some research. It's not, has not been published in double-blind studies or peer-reviewed journals, but he's proposing that the unique thing about the Aramaic language is that it is actually based in the physics of the world. Wherever the language was made up, bouncing brain cells, a little flap of skin vibrating in the throat that made a grunt. And we said, well, we'll make that grunt mean this, and we'll make this grunt mean that.
Mm-hmm.
But the Aramaic actually is a reflection, at least according to Tannen, that literally the characters of the alphabet are 3D reflections of the atomic structure of the elements of the universe.
That's nice.
And so we have a language that's based in physics, not brain cells.
Yeah.
And that just, to me, opens a whole other, level of understanding. And until we get back to that Aramaic, there's just nowhere else that it's visible. There's so many holes, people find pieces of it, but that 2,000 years ago, this man Yeshua put it all together in one piece. Said, here's how it works. It's pretty awesome.
And the Hawaiian language also, it's contextual. The language they use, they only have 13 letters in the alphabet, but it's nuances with the gutturals and all the nuances, which is, it's very exactly what you said. Language can be a holographic representation of the energetic frequency being interchanged. And I love,
and I think
I love how you're, even with the English, having us collapse the knots. Like that's so important. Finally, my conscious mind is aware when I'm doing it, which is brilliant. That's a testament to work to that. So yeah, English collapses us into a certain bandwidth of consciousness, and to break ourselves free from that so we can be expanded into these higher states. And Aramaic does that because it's the original language. And then, as you said before about the, you mentioned that the Hawaiians may be the lost Israelites. And
I think it's one of the, they say there
Yeah.
were 12 tribes that were lost, and I think it's
Yes.
probably one of them.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that is tied right in with the Aramaic thinking.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's my commitment. We run a few minutes over. Thank you all for staying and hanging in with us. And we're delighted that you've been here. Anyone have a last thought to share before we say sayonara? We'll see you tomorrow.